Hello, everybody. My name's James. Welcome to another Planet FPL Clash of the Correspondents. And ahead of Game Week 7, we're gripped by double game week fever and 4.0 defensive options. We've got a double for our two correspondents coming up. And it's now. Let me introduce you to our Luton correspondent, Dan Ashby. How are you, Dan?
Not bad, James. I'm looking forward to talk fantasy and more importantly about Luton Town and Burnley. Which one of us is apparently getting relegated, or as everyone's reporting, it's both of us. I think
Yeah, and Sheffield United. Yeah. I thought
Sheffield
you was going to
United
say
as
I'm looking
well.
for. Do you know what? I thought you was going to say I'm looking for 6 points this week. Is what I thought you was going to say. Let me introduce you to our Burnley correspondent, Jack Toner, who would go wild if he gets 6 points this week. I think. How are you, Jack?
Yeah, I'm a little bit happier to see you this time than I was last time. Put it that way.
Granted, I didn't think I'd see. I didn't think I'd see you again so soon, but the Premier League decided to have their way with the fixture scheduling. Just quickly on that, Dan, did the scheduling of the fixture come as a big surprise, or was it expected that it'd be quite soon?
I think um, I know. I think when I came on for the Chelsea one, our chief executive had said it was going to be pretty soon, but it caught us a bit off guard. I'm guessing.
Jack, was you expecting it?
No, not really. I know there was a slim chance of it being this side of Christmas. But no, pretty much out of the blue, really, they just sort of dropped it on us, but we'll take it, I guess.
Yeah, they promised you 5 weeks notice. You didn't get it. That's the first rule broken already this season. Will you be travelling, Jack, for it?
No, I won't be doing this one. I'm doing the Newcastle game, and I did Forest the week before, so just watching Spens really. Otherwise, I would have been there. Had it not been a Tuesday night.
Yeah, that's it. Tuesday night at month's notice, not particularly great for anybody. But there you go. I suppose at least the weather's fairly warm. I suspect they just wanted to get your first one out of the way, didn't they, Dan? See that the stadium was all right with West Ham. It held all the media stuff. And I also think that the draw, ironically, that two of you got in the Carabao Cup might have had a minor influence as well from there, in the sense that you both got ties you would have expected to get through. Dan, you didn't. Is that just something else that's kind of a kick at the moment? You think, oh, we could win that at Exeter.
It's one of them I'd like to have won, but we made 10 changes. So we brought in 12 players during the summer and we're still bedding players in. So a lot of these players needed minutes as well. We threw in a highly rated youngster at centre back. So yeah, a bit disappointing not to go through, but it's not the end of the world.
No, sure. Jack, you saw the delights of Salford and Gary Neville's town, I understand. How was it?
Yeah, it was good. Not to rub it in, Dan, but we made 10 changes and obviously won 4-0. So yeah, I think it was to be expected. Nice to tick off a new stadium, have a local tie for us. Was pretty much a walk in the park, really, which was to be expected. But we've seen stranger things happen. I.e., the game we had to Lincoln in the Cup a few years ago springs to mind as one. We played Jack Cork at centre half, which sort of told you what you needed to know, really. How it was, it wasn't expecting him to play as a centre half. He was just starting us passing out from the back, really. So yeah, I was kind of hoping to after the first half for us to get all the way to 8, like Newcastle at the weekend, but I think I was getting a bit greedy, really. The second half was just one of those professional performances, just sew it out and finished 4-0.
It's interesting that you've managed to get Sheffield United into the conversation already. Dan, you especially, I think, and the Blades are being really grouped and completely written off by many neutrals at the moment. I don't think many, on what they've seen so far, will be predicting either of you two teams to stay up. And I mean, there's a lot will be predicting Jack's team to go down as well. What's your response as a Luton fan to the media narrative around Luton at the moment?
I think the first couple of games we struggled to adapt. It didn't help having uh, the Burnley game cancelled. We played obviously Brighton, which is as you've mentioned before, probably one of the hardest games in the league. We then had a 2 week break. We signed a couple of players, threw a couple in against Chelsea, and we were a bit naive. We played like we did in the Championship, and we got caught mainly on the counter. Since then, the last 3 games we've been competitive. West Ham, I know it looked like they'd done quite well. West Ham. It was professional performance by West Ham. But if you look at the data, we beat them on XG, we beat them on shots, we had more clear chances. We had the dodgy penalty decision went against us in the last minute through Ward-Prowse. Against Fulham, after the international break, we went away and we changed formation to 5-4-1, which helped us against Fulham. I know we had like, what, 22%. But again, if you look on the data, we beat them on XG, we beat them on big chances created. And I know the Wolves game, we were playing against 10 men for a lot of it, but they didn't have a shot in the first half. Their XG was 0. We were on about 0.6. So there's a narrative that we're getting battered, and that's just not the case. We've been in most games, it's been fine margins, and we're either making a mistake at the back or we're not taking our chances and we're getting punished. And unfortunately, we could theoretically be here with like 5, 6, 7 points, and we're not. We're on 1, and that's just it's the reality of the Premier League. Like we could play Everton and Burnley. My guess is it'll be tight games, and we can get anywhere in between 6 and 0 points. It's just how it falls on the day.
Yeah, no, that's certainly fair that your range of what you could get this week is definitely at the top and right at the bottom of that. You played really well first half against Wolves.
Yeah.
Was the feeling afterwards, considering they played the second half with 10 men, was it a pleased that you were off 0 and on 1, or was it looking back and you go, yeah, on paper that's one of the home games we've got to be targeting a win?
Yeah, do you know what? It was weird. I think we would have been better playing against 11 men, because what happened, we were causing them a lot of problems down our left side. We brought in Doughty and Ogbene. Both of them are quite quick, and they were causing Wolves all sorts of problems. And then what happened? We had a few chances. Morris hit the post. Doughty had a shot with Hitch Morris, which was going in. And then we got the red card, and then they just basically banked up, and we don't really have the creativity to break teams down. I personally would have liked us to maybe have gone more like we played 5 at the back for most of the game. It just wasn't needed. I'd have liked us to maybe have gone for it, maybe gone 4-4-2 and proper stretched it. But yeah, I think Edwards was more worried about like getting 0, not getting the point, and whereas I'd
you
have
went
gone
behind
for
as
3.
well, right?
Yeah.
And to be fair, the penalty you got on this occasion was, I mean, it kind of sums up handball rule at the moment. You didn't get the Ward-Prowse one, but you got that one against Wolves.
Do you know what? We've had 2 penalties this year. I don't think they were
And Lewis
penalties.
Dunk wasn't either. That's right.
Yeah, but I don't think João Pedro was in that game either.
Yeah.
And then we could have had one, the Ward Prowse, we could have had one at Fulham as well, which I think were both penalties. So it's like, I don't understand what is a penalty anymore. I just don't understand it. And because the handball, the Wolves one happened right in front of where I sit. I said to my dad, it's going to get overturned. It's come off his knee. I could see it clear as day, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
anymore
that's a whole
what
different
happened.
podcast for another day. We won't go down that route. I think it's worth saying, Dan, that if we'd have sat here this time last week and we'd have said Sheffield United ain't getting battered by anyone. And I think that's the concern. And I think the real concern with you at the moment is, yeah, absolutely. The games since like Chelsea, you've been absolutely well in them. I'm really unfortunate only to get 1 point from the 3 games. But I think you summed it up there well. 10 men against 10 men Wolves at home, struggling for creativity. That's the concern. If you're not going to keep clean sheets, and it's not to say that you won't, but then there's a real alarm and concern in terms of how many goals you'll actually get and what's being, if Morris gets chances, we think he'll score goals. Is he going to get given enough chances?
Well, yeah, that's the main thing. I don't think there'll be a lot of games where we'll play that against that sort of block. think we're going to be the one with the block, and we're going to be countering a lot of teams, which, like I mentioned, the last two games, especially um, Jacob Brown in the Fulham game, Jacob Brown and Kabore in the Fulham game, and Ogbene and Doughty in the Wolves game were really causing the teams we were playing against a lot of problems. So yeah, it's just really hard to judge us at the minute because we should have more points, but we don't. And there's no doubt we're still finding out which of our players are Premier League quality, because realistically, our only Premier League experience is Nakamba, Lokonga, who's come in for 2 games now injured, and
Barkley.
Barkley, who's injured as well. So we're still finding out who can step up to the Premier League.
Jack, we didn't expect that long ago. High fives again. I know you've been missing me, mate. The 2 games since in the Premier League, Forest away, probably again, maybe a little bit of relief in the end to take the point, although probably disappointed with the disallowed goal that you didn't get the win there. You played all right against United. You must feel a bit better now than when we last spoke 3 weeks ago. That would be my instinct.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's, we sat here and said it wouldn't have been the strangest thing if we'd have got 6 points in both. And I think, had a couple of decisions gone our way and, we'd have had a little bit more control maybe in the United game. I think it could have easily have been just that. Yeah, the Forest game was pleasing. Nice for us to get back on amongst the goals and on a different day. I mean, I don't understand where VAR comes from to chalk that one off, given that there was a handball shout for their goal, which was definitely not a handball. For me, we should be looking for a level playing field where we agree to just have as many goals scored as possible. Unless it's going to be like Newcastle banging 8 in every week, and then we might think, we need to rule a few out. But it just wasn't like that. But yeah, was a good performance against Forest. We didn't quite have as much possession as we'd have. We discussed that we thought we might have done. I thought with the decision to put Charlie Taylor back in, that's company probably recognising some of the concerns that I've had and turning around and saying, actually, we need some Premier League experience. It makes us much more solid at the back. It was just a win-win, really, and we've looked so much better since he's come into the side. United game again was one of them where I didn't think we kind of give it to him enough, really, in that second half. I thought they were there for the taking. For what it was worth, I thought the home crowd was very poor. I didn't think we got behind them at all. Whereas at the City ground, I was really impressed with the Forest fans. I think had it not been from their support, they'd have probably dwindled out like we did at United. So yeah, much more positive. I think the points will come. It's just we're still bedding in a lot of players and we're still trying to figure a few things out. So yeah, it'll definitely come.
Can you explain that? I know what I mean by that is that I went to Forest at the start of last season, and it was probably near enough, probably pound for pound in terms of capacity, probably the best atmosphere I experienced away from home last year, actually. And yet went to yours, the exact same game week 4 this year. Despite the fact you took the lead, never got that vibe. And I've been at your place when it's been beautiful sunshine like that day. And as you know, I've been there in the snow with no game, and I've been there in the rain when it's been pouring down and we've lost 1-0. I've never come out to Turf Moor and went, some atmosphere there, or it felt intense, or it's always felt like historically a difficult place to go, but it's never one I've looked at and thought, the atmosphere there's rough. Do you know what I mean? There's no intimidation, Phil. I don't know if that's just the experiences I've had, but
it can be. I think it depends on sort of what day and what mood some of the fans are in, which I guess points to it not being a great atmosphere all the time. I think the fans that go in next to the away fans when they introduced that massively helped. But a lot of them are the younger fans that perhaps haven't been on as much. So I think they probably like it their own way a little bit more. So, if we're winning and we're winning 2-0, they'll probably be giving more stick than they will when, if it's a tight game. Whereas it felt the Monday night at Forest that regardless of result, it was going to be bouncing in there. I think what made it worse for me as an away fan in their ground is they were above us and they were either side of us. So it just drowns out the whole noise. I think at Turf Moor, obviously you get a big chunk of that stand to yourself, and there's only a slither of Burnley fans at the side, surrounded by the stand to the right is where I sit, which is usually a few more older people. So the atmosphere can get going. I think we probably need to do more with the ground and fill the sides in a little bit maybe, and that'll get it going. I think in terms of this season, I've noticed a big difference from last season already. But again, it's we've not been turning up every game and winning 2-0 and playing like we did last season and having that much control. So I think once we start to get more of a foothold in games and we can actually feel like we can control them, I think the atmosphere will get better.
I mean, it's not inconceivable that the 4 teams you played at home could all finish in the top 4 in theory, right? So you've had tough fixtures yourself as well, mate. How do you feel about the media narrative towards Burnley at the moment in terms of chance of staying up and what you're thinking that people are saying about the club on the outside?
But perhaps maybe a little bit different to Dan. I think I've not really paid as much attention. I think because we've had a few years in the Premier League now, and we've been where Dan was, where we're that team that gets written off, and you get a lot of crap really from the mainstream media, and you kind of feel like you've got to stick up for yourself. I feel like we're at the point now where we don't have to stick up for ourselves. I think it's you can make. It feels now that we can just say make whatever noise you want, and we know that there's something that we believe in, and we'll just. And companies built something that's going to be quite special with these younger players. So, yeah, I mean, listen, there needs to be some kind of serious conversations of we need to start picking up points. But I think ours is, at least across the media outlets that actually pay much attention. I think they know that it's a project here and it's going to take a little bit longer, really.
Will it definitely get given the time?
I think so. I can't see why we'd spend the amount of money that we have to make any stupid or rash decisions. It would maybe be conversations about how we maybe need to I think like the Charlie Taylor one of coming in at left back for me is a good compromise. He's a player who's played probably 100+ Premier League games, and he's our only left back. I mean, just on paper it was the obvious move to make. So I think
when we spoke 3 weeks ago though, we spoke about Charlie Taylor and we said but he won't play him, and we both agreed that. So I kind of like that he did. Because he's obviously recognised. It's good.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think Dan's team will stay up?
I think they've got a good chance. I think the thing with the Premier League is both I and Dan will be looking and thinking, who else will go down instead of us? I mean, if you only judged Everton off the game you watched at the weekend, you'll be saying, well, they aren't one of the ones in the bottom 3. But we all know that. From one week to the next, Everton can go back to being like they were beforehand. It's not solved Everton's problems overnight. Realistically, I think Luton can probably get to Christmas and not be on very many points and still stay up. If everyone listened to the media this time last year, then Bournemouth were playing in the Championship this season. So stranger things have happened. I think Luton have shown that they can stay in games. I think they've got a real way to sort of combat the opposition and beat them on the counter. It's one of them where I can see them going to Everton at the weekend and frustrating them and coming away with a 1-0 win, or could be the other way around. It is real fine margins, but I think they've got every chance really. I don't think it's as cut and dry as what a lot of people are saying.
Dan, how do you feel about Jack's team?
I've said since the start of the season, obviously being on a pod to do with the Championship, I saw a lot of Burnley last year, and I've said all along I think Burnley will be quite comfortable closer to mid-table than relegation. However, they've got to adapt to this level, and at the minute they've not shown that they can. They have had spells, but like I said, the fixtures have been hard, and I think they're coming into a run where it's more fair to judge them. But yeah, I know if Jack thinks we might stay up, and I think Burnley might stay up. We're running out of teams that might go down.
That's it, isn't it? Right. So you've both agreed that Sheffield United are going down. Go on then, pick 2 others, and I think that especially for you, Dan, is part of the problem. I've said this week, I feel really sorry for you and Sheffield United in the sense that you can't go mad financially, as Jack said. We're talking about company's future. If the results continue badly, do they definitely stick with them? It's like, well, they've invested this money. You can't, which is the right thing definitely for you to do. Sheffield United can't for other reasons. And that's part of the problem. Jack's nailed it as well. You look at Everton and Brentford and Saturday, and you go, well, if they play like that often enough, they'll stay up. So it's almost, you start looking at other teams, you're like, yeah, Bournemouth, I think they'll get better. Wolves were great at Old Trafford game week 1, but seems progressively maybe getting worse week on week. Forest, are they? Palace, no. Fulham, no. That's the problem. You start looking
I
at other
think
teams
Fulham
and you
might.
think they'll
I
stay up.
think
Think they'll
Fulham
stay up.
might. I think Fulham will drop. I wasn't overly impressed with them. I think they might struggle to score goals,
You agree with
to be
that,
honest.
but I think with Paulinho
So,
staying, they'll be all right.
but we still countered against them pretty easily. Um, I'm not saying they will. They've obviously got points on the board, but I think Fulham will be closer to relegation than mid-table. I think.
I love that you picked on a team that you've already played, so you haven't got her upset with
Well,
anyone
I've
that's
seen.
coming up soon.
Well, I've seen them, haven't I?
No, that's very fair. I got to pay the two of you back to back very soon, mate. I'm looking forward to it. Right, let's talk a little bit of FPL then, because I know that's what most people are going, come on, you're going to talk about these 4.0 defenders. We'll get there. But first, Dan, Carlton Morris.
Yeah.
I take it it's triple captain this week, isn't it?
I've thought about it, but I think I'll just put the captaincy on him. I'll play it a bit safe.
Jack, why did you laugh?
Just made me laugh. Just I wasn't convinced.
How often is he going to get the opportunity to triple captain a Luton player? I mean, to be honest, let's even put it a different way for you, Dan. What's the chance of you having a double game week that looks better than this one?
I won't, will it? Unless Sheffield United and Wolves, maybe something like that.
It's not likely you're going to land with it, mate.
Yeah.
You're scheduled to play Liverpool and Carabao Cup final. Not that you've made it, but maybe they might. Oh God, they check score against Leicester. Are they winning or not? Is he going to get the armband though?
Yeah. I've already done it. Transfer Jackson out for Morris. And it's not just because I'm a Luton fan. If Burnley would have had our fixtures and we'd have played Newcastle, I might have gone. I probably would have gone with a Burnley player. It just makes sense. Two easy fixtures.
I've got
fixtures.
nothing against it if anyone wants to do it. I did want to ask.
Yeah.
I know they're your rival. Did you captain Emmanuel Dennis the other year?
Might have done King.
Or King? So you did, even though they were your rival, you did captain a Watford player that week.
Yeah.
You and everybody else. And you were part of that double, weren't you, Jack?
We were, yeah.
And you got completely overlooked for the captaincy. What was your other game that game week? Was it a tough one, similar to like Newcastle away? I can't remember.
Possibly, I think so.
Because it was all the talk was all Watford, wasn't it? And from the captaincy perspective, he's been all about them. So are you going to triple captain Zeki Amdouni, or is it Charlie Taylor, or where you going, Jack?
No, I'm going to stay with Haaland, I think. I mean, I'm sure we'll get on to our defenders, but I'm not completely convinced, to be honest.
Carlton Morris for you, Jack?
I'd be tempted, yeah. I mean, I don't think it's where I want to go down. It just reeks of the Emmanuel Dennis for me. I think we get excited about players that we wouldn't normally pick, but that's the beauty of a double game week, isn't it? You go there and others don't, and it can be so obvious just for a player who plays twice. Striker who's got a couple of goals already this season, so yeah, I can see it, but it's just not for me. I don't think this week.
Is he definitely the best Luton captaincy option, Dan? Is that unquestionable?
Oh, yeah, because I think we saw at the weekend, our games are going to be quite low margins, and there could just be one or two goals in it. And if we score, it's likely to be Morris, and if that happens, he'll get 2 or 3 bonus as well. So, yeah, it's Morris.
Do you, Jack? Do you share the view? Is the best captaincy option from both teams?
Yeah, I think so. I think if Lau Foster was fit, then I would have been, you could maybe have made a case for him. I think the problem with us is we've got so many attacking options that, if Company decides to rotate it for even one of the weeks, or he could, it wouldn't be the strangest of thing for Amdouni to miss out both. I mean, I don't think he will. I think he's one of the more nailed on ones out of the lot, really. But yeah, I think there's a lot more rotation risk with us and the size of squad that we've got. So yeah.
Who's your pentator, Jack?
I'm not too sure.
This is going to be good when you're on with Neil Grover in a few weeks as well, because he doesn't know Bournemouth size, because he doesn't think they'll ever get a penalty again. So that'll be fun as well.
Yeah, no, I'm not convinced about. I mean, we've not seen one yet this season, so I guess we'll wait and see.
We know it's obviously Morris for you, and I think that alone, isn't it, Dan? The fact you got a clear talisman, he's on penalties, 2 decent fixtures, he's enough to say yeah, you can do it. But you can also subscribe to the narrative, well, he's only scored from penalties. You can also subscribe to the narrative, anyone who saw the shot he had in the first half against Wolves would be going, well, okay, I can see the capability of the player there. Is it a straightforward Morris versus Haaland?
Yeah, it is. I think so, yeah. And I think it also depends, like, for example, I had Jackson. I know he was suspended, but I was going to take him out anyway. If you got João Pedro as well, I think you can make a case for it. But if you've got Alvarez and Haaland, I can understand why people aren't bringing him in.
Yeah, I've got Watkins as well with Villa's turn of
yeah, I've
fixtures
got
about to come.
Watkins as well, yeah.
No, I couldn't, unless something has happened to Alvarez in that cup game at Newcastle, we should clarify with pre-recording Wednesday night, then even still, I don't think I'd go there, to be honest, Dan. I don't think.
Yeah,
for me, it would still be Haaland. Part of that's what I've seen of Wolves, actually, last couple of weeks as well. I'm thinking, yeah, I'm not sure I really want to go against that. But yeah, it's a straight shootout between the two this week for captaincy. And if anyone wants to go there, they've absolutely got my blessing. Are you on him, Jack, or you getting him, or leaving it, or Morris?
I don't think so. I think I'm just going to leave it, to be honest. Yeah, I think with my team structure, like you said, unless something happens to Alvarez, yeah, I mean, if it's going down to score predictions, I wouldn't have either of Luton's games really as being proper, really high scoring. Whereas you know what Man City's like, it could quite easily be, 3 or 4, couldn't it? So I'd trust it with Alvarez if that was the case.
I think that's also what might have made some people go cold on it a bit as well. Everton last Saturday. And also yourself, Jack, now obviously it's 1 goal conceded in each of the last 2 games, rather than you looking at the Tottenham game and stuff like that before and going, oh, Jesus, they're wide open on the counter and stuff like that. So you tightened a bit. Everton might have sorted themselves a little bit. That makes you go a little bit colder. I reckon he'll get a penalty in both games, Dan, score in both games. And I reckon Haaland will get a hat-trick. Sorry, mate.
You'll take your shirt off and get booked.
Jack, if you did captain a Burnley player, who would it be?
I think I'd go attacking more than defensive. I think I'd probably go for Amdouni or Koleosho, something like that. I think the way I look at Newcastle and how they played at the weekend, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was 2, if we conceded 2 or 3, even though we've tightened it up. They looked really good. I still don't think we're great from set pieces, and I think Newcastle are. I think that would be a big problem for us. So, I think if you manage to go there and get clean sheet points from the defence, then fair enough. But yeah, I think realistically for the minutes risk, for what we've seen so far this season, it would be probably Koleosho or Amdouni.
Do you expect Foster to start against Luton?
I think he'd be straight back in.
Yeah.
I mean, Amdouni would play down the middle against United, and he wasn't quite as effective. He looks better sort of carrying the ball. I watched Rodriguez last night, and I hate really criticising, especially my own players, and he just looks done. He looks finished. And I really, really want it to work for him. But he's lost that yard of pace. He was so frustrated. He made about 4 or 5 cynical fouls because his man had beat him, on the counter press sort of thing, and he got himself booked. And yeah, he wasn't good at all last night. But that being said, this is where we were with Barnes this time last season, and then he went on to have a good second half of the season. So there's time in there, but I don't think Rodriguez's time is now. I think we'll stick with Amdouni through the middle. So, and I think as soon as Foster's back in, he's looked great this season. I think he'll get thrown straight back in. So for me, he'll start against Luton.
So you'd expect Amdouni up front at Newcastle, similar as against Manchester United, and then a deeper role against Luton, therefore, yeah?
Yeah.
If you had to buy, Dan, a midfielder from either club for this double, 1 week punt, where's your money go?
To a Burnley, I'm not quite sure who it'd be. I wouldn't go anywhere near Luton for a midfielder. So yeah, whoever's the attacking midfielder for Burnley, probably.
Is Koleosho the punt there, Jack, if people want to do it? Is that the punt he won?
I think so. I mean, Tressor had some great stats last season in Belgium, and he came on for Goodmanson early in the United game. He got minutes again this week. He'd be very, very punty. I think based on the minutes we've seen so far, it would kind of have to be Koleosho. I think I'd expect it to be similar to United with maybe Cullen, Brownhill, or Burge, and probably Ramsey again. So you could maybe punt Ramsey, but again, I don't think the minutes are secure.
Ramsey's not 4.5, as he's in the 5s range. I'm sure he is.
Yeah, 5.
Yeah.
Koleosho's 5 as well.
I can't think, even if I was free hitting this week, I don't know if I'd pick a midfielder from either team, to tell you the truth. I think I'd be quite happy to go like Morris, obviously, and say Amdouni, but any of them midfielders, I'd still be half tempted to bench it, to be honest. Koleosho is the only one I could make any case for, I think, Jack.
Yeah. I think that's it. I think if we were to score a couple of goals against Newcastle, then I think he'd be involved just sheerly for his sheer pace. Whether it be assist or, he doesn't look like he's really got goals in him just yet. Yeah, I think you can make a case for him. If he was going there and he was punting, he'd be the one for me.
Brownhill?
I think he'll play deeper. I think he'll play alongside Cullen. I don't think he'll get as far forward. I think with other options that will play further forward and not consistent enough to me for his attacking returns.
Corner taker for you, Jack, is?
Varies really. Yeah, I'm not even too sure.
He takes a few, doesn't he, Brownhill?
Brownhill will take it through, yeah. If Gudmundson's playing, Gudmundsson will take them on the opposite side, swing them in.
Yeah, but I'll take he's injured again, is he?
Tressor's taken a few at the weekend. Maybe Zaroury or Benson if they play. So yeah, I think if there was no Gudmundsson, then yeah, I think Brownhill probably would take corners.
Okay, that's not inspiring as such. For you, Dan, corner taker?
Doughty.
If he plays?
No, I think he'll play now. If
Both?
Lockyer is out. I think we're running out of options. If Lockyer is out, Mads Anderson will play centre of the 3. Bell play left centre back, and Doughty has to play over Giles. Giles can't defend. Positioning's not good enough.
I literally love that. I don't love that if Lockyer's injured, but that's the report, isn't it? That Rob Edwards said after X2 he was going to need to. I think he said he's going to need a scan, didn't he?
Yeah,
which
so that's
would
not
make
promising.
you think he's unfortunately. Which does mean you could play with 3 4.0 centre backs. I don't know if I've ever seen that before.
You probably never see it again either, unless it's us the week after.
Okay, let's say Lockyer's fit, just hypothetically. Who would play either side of him at Everton, in your opinion?
So Burke would play right side centre back. I wonder if we'll go back to what we did against Fulham and Anderson play. Yeah. I think at home we'll be more attacking, but like I said, if we're running out of options, so if Lockyer is out, then Doughty will have to come in.
That almost makes it want to sound like Bell's the most interesting and exciting. I feel like I'm not convinced about that at all.
No,
I think if I had to go for one in 4.0s, I think I'd go for Burke. Because I feel like he's the one who I could be absolutely sure I think will play twice. That's how it feels to me right now.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
But Kabore is a better choice than all of them, isn't he, Dan?
Yeah, he is. He might not be better than Doughty if you're willing to punt.
So Doughty's, what is he, 4-5?
Might have dropped to 4-3 or 4-4. Like I said, if Doughty plays both, he'll be on corners. He'll be very attacking. Yeah. So, but I'm not sure people will pay 0.4 when you can get Kabore and.
That's it. And I think even, to be honest, the one that's probably upset a few, I think people really wanted to punt was Giles, because he was putting some brilliant deliveries into the box. We discussed that, before you came on with Gary ahead of game week 3. What's happened there? Why is it changed at wing back? What's the best pairing in your opinion as the wing backs? And how secure would you feel that any of them play twice, or at least start twice?
So Giles obviously started the first 3 games. Now he played right wing back against West Ham. Doughty's just looked like he's coped with the level better, and whether that's defensively or going forward. And we conceded a lot of goals from that left side because Bell's not naturally a left-sided centre back. He was originally a left wing back played in there. So what was happening was um, Bell and Giles were struggling. Like the West Ham goal, Giles just was the wrong side of Bowen. Against Sterling, I know Sterling played well, but he was all over the place against Sterling. So yeah, and he done all right in the Brighton game for like the crossing, but we need a more reliable defender defensively at the minute, which is why Bell and Doughty have got in ahead of him recently.
So Giles is a complete no-go for you if people want to punt that, I guess. Your expectation
Yeah,
would be
it's
what?
no-go.
Kabore and Doughty start at Everton.
Yeah,
Same against Burnley or not?
I think they'll probably have to be.
I did see Kabore's brilliant attempts at the clearance against Exeter. That won't bite him, will it?
Just can't see it because Doughty would have to go to right wing back. And like I said, I'm not sure he trusts Giles. So
if you think Kabore will start twice and because of his value,
yeah,
that's the one, isn't it?
yeah,
You've got.
it is, yeah.
Am I right in saying you've got him, Dan?
Yeah, I started with him, so yeah, I'll be playing him.
Is he getting a triple captaincy?
No.
Come on, that would be really maverick. Jack, you on any Luton defensive?
No, I've still got Bayer that I've carried through from the start, so he's the only one, and I wouldn't look to move anything on really.
Okay, I'll take it. Therefore, you won't be looking at any of the Luton defensive.
No, not with just purely through my team structure really.
If you could swap Bayer for Charlie Taylor without the cost of a transfer, would you do it?
I feel like if I needed to play him this week, then yeah. If it was one where I was saying it was purely just for this week, I think if I was looking to sort of hold longer term, then I would stick with Bayer really, just purely for the sort of how secure the minutes are. I don't think Taylor's position is really too dissimilar to probably like what Bayer's would be. You know, he won't be bombing forward as much as Roberts would on the right hand side. He's probably just as likely to get an assist as Bayer really. So
Bayer will go up from corners on that, won't he?
Yeah,
so
yeah, exactly.
It's more the everybody's scraping for every pound all of a sudden to try and force in sort of Liverpool players in coming weeks and stuff like that. And it is one you think, oh, I've lost the value on this player. Oh, right, now he's in the Burnley team and he's 3.9. Like if you knew that he was going to stay in the team longer term, you get it in now. You look at your fixtures from sort of game week 9, 10 onwards. And to be honest, we got Chelsea away, Chelsea at home in 8. I don't know if you should shit yourself or not about it. The fixtures are good up to Christmas, really.
Yeah, and I say this about the minutes risk for Taylor. The only way I can see it changing is if we suddenly manage to start stringing win after win after win together and having, you know, loads of possession and us thinking actually we want someone to get further forward. I think at the minute it's too premature to even think about that. And I think we realistically, if we then start to make it clicks together, I think taking Taylor out would be a big risk. So I think Taylor's minutes are pretty secure really. So I wouldn't be against going there if you're on a budget and you need to save that 0.1. And as you said, the immediate fixtures after this run aren't too bad.
I was going to buy Charlie Taylor and Malo Gusto ruined the weekend from that perspective for me. I guess there was a consciousness of thinking longer term. I don't know how much he stays in. It was at 0.1 was potentially going to be quite important to me. But I'd certainly recognise to say 2 games is not enough to know if this will definitely stick. But I suspect if you do well in forthcoming weeks and Taylor continues to play, then it probably will. That was kind of my take. And I do think things will improve for you. In terms of the centre-backs, is Bayer over Al-Dakhil? Is that definitely the correct call?
I think so. I think for me, Bayer's number 1 in terms of on the picking list. I think Al-Dakhil will be second, and then O'Shea behind him. O'Shea's just not got the nod really ahead of Al-Dakhil, but Al-Dakhil's he's lightning quick. He was recorded as one of the fastest players, I think, in the Premier League in game week 1. So I think for the high line we play, you've seen it at the weekend, we get done by a ball over the top, and it's happened a few times this season. So I think Al-Dakhil for me is also pretty secure as well. But yeah, Bayer is definitely first choice, I think, out of the three of them at least.
So what's happened with O'Shea? I know particularly struggled against us, I thought, but to then not be in the squad at all for the next two, and I obviously played at Salford Tuesday night. Was he injured? Was there a problem? The fact that he didn't play didn't hugely shock me, but the fact he wasn't even in the squad, I couldn't find any sourcing of information of what was going on.
This year's been, I mean, the press conferences have been absolutely useless, and he'd been advised of the injury news, and I've not heard of any injury to him. It was the same with Taylor in the first few weeks. Taylor didn't even make the bench, and then all of a sudden he's starting, which indicates he might have been injured. But for me, it was just he wasn't getting the nod. I think with that many players now, and it was perhaps just a bit of a rotation, but it seems bizarre that he wouldn't even make the bench. So maybe he has picked up a bit of a niggle or something. But it seems that the position was probably easier for him to hold down when there was no Charlie Taylor playing, because we were juggling playing right backs at left backs and centre backs at right backs and all sorts of stupid stuff. So
simplified it a bit, hasn't
it? Yeah, and that's exactly that. And I don't massively think there's the fact that we saw O'Shea back last night and he was playing makes me think that 10 changes, that was our second string. It doesn't make me think that he didn't take him off at half time and think we'll save you for Saturday. I think he's definitely sort of reserves.
Okay, so you wouldn't be concerned that he might have had an injury and he could come back in?
No, if you was to go triple penalty defence, I would, not that anyone would, but I would be saying Charlie Taylor will start at left back, Bayer and Al-Dakhil centre half, and Connor Roberts at right back.
Okay, cool. Who is the best Burnley journalist for the FPL interested managers? Is there a journalist that we can hound? Because I've found doing my team news streams for patrons on a Friday, your lot, the biggest problem so far to get information. A nightmare.
There's Alex James who writes for the for Burnley Express, but I'm not sure if he's been doing a lot more with United this season. I think he's got a job at Manchester Evening News, so I'm not sure if him stepping away has maybe resulted in there being less there. Chris Bowden used to be the journalist for Burnley, but there just hasn't. I mean, I've not even been finding it. There just hasn't been as much info from the press conferences at all. So don't really know what's going on really.
All right, give a few of them a nudge. Dan, who's the ones we should trust for Luton? Who's got the inside on Luton from a journalistic point of view?
Jeff Doyle. He's BBC Three Counties. He normally posts something maybe half an hour after the press conference. So he's probably the best one.
Yeah, I found getting information on your team. I don't know if because Rob Edwards is being more open than company, maybe. I don't know, but I've found that easier than yours has just been an absolute nightmare, Jack, from week to week.
Sorry, just found it here actually. It's Andy Jones. He writes for The Athletic, so he's probably one of the best ones as well. So on Twitter, he's @Jones_journo.
All right, yeah, that's handy because I think we need to start keeping an eye on these guys and start pushing them to ask the right questions about team news, particularly for your team, Jack. I take it Trafford's staying in goal at the moment.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'd be. He's not drastically done anything wrong, so I can't see him losing his place. So yeah, he stays in for me.
69 completed passes against Manchester United.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Muric would have been in
triple
figures.
It's more than any Man United player, mate.
Yeah, it's nuts. And he's not even that good. Muric is better than his feet than Trafford.
I think what happened specifically against United, I spoke about this on the pod, was that I think they were well set for what you were going to do actually defensively, and actually defended you at the top end with the first couple of lines of defence really well, where they touched Rashford and Hannibal in because you were doing that with Taylor and Roberts. And I just think the two centre-backs and the goalkeeper kept going in triangles is what was happening quite a lot, going around Haaland and then trying to open up space. That's why those numbers were so big. Yeah, I think that us who want him to do well and break into the England squad, hopefully one day, certainly want him to be stuck with and and come good. Yeah, I think he's been fine the last couple of games. Dan, if you were free hitting this week, I presume money would be no object, partly because West Ham playing Sheffield United at home. Which free Luton would you go for?
Or a Morris and Doughty.
Bore, Morris, Doughty. Jack, would you go free Burnley?
I wouldn't, but if I had to, I'd probably go Bayer, Amdu, Nico, the Osho.
Not the keeper. I'm surprised none of you said your keepers.
Yeah, I mean,
It's boring, isn't it?
Don't know. Is a penalty saving a double game week boring, Dan? Don't know.
As long as it's not Morris's being saved, I'm not that bothered.
I don't know. If I was free hitting, I think particularly Kaminsky, I'd be very tempted by. I think Dan.
Yeah, I'd be tempted with Trafford. If everyone's triple captain in Morris, it's written in the stars, isn't it? Trafford penalty save.
He's got Everton away, and you've got Newcastle away, and just got 8 checks. So I think Kaminsky, I think, mate. Yeah, if I was free hitting, I think Kaminsky I'd strongly consider. If I was bench boosting, I'd get both, Jack, yeah? Let's do some correct score predictions before we let you go, guys. Thanks so much for that. Dan, go on, give us a correct score for Everton away, mate.
1-1.
You're going as well, aren't you?
Yeah. 1-1, I think.
Enjoy it. Jack, Newcastle away?
8-1. No.
To Burnley, obviously.
I can't see us turn them over. I hope I'm wrong. 3-1 Newcastle.
Dan, the big one next Tuesday.
1-0 Luton.
Jack.
Yeah, I'm going to go the opposite way. Looking at it last season, I remember it was a 1-1 draw at your place and 1-0, or the other way around, 1-0 at home.
Yeah, the other
1-1
way
at
around,
your, yeah. So they were both tight games. I'm going to go 1-0 as well to us.
So it's at, I think probably definitely goes for your 2 games, I think, Dan. Low scoring, I think you've said. Is that how you see the game next Tuesday as well, Jack? Low scoring?
Yeah, I mean, based on how we've been this season so far, I know it's been against different opponents, and just basing it really on how the games were last season, I think there's a certain style of opponent who we'd really open up, and I don't think Luton's one of those. I think they'll make it tough for us. That they don't have an identity that's so much. You don't completely sit back and you don't completely press or whatever. So I think with the way you mix it up, I think it makes it a bit harder for us, and I don't think we've had enough in us yet this season to find a real rhythm. So I think had we been playing you in another 5 or 6 game weeks, I would have maybe thought differently. But I think given how the season's gone, I think low scoring for me.
After Burnley, Dan, you've got my team at home. Are you a Son or a Maddison owner?
No, not at the minute. I'm debating on doing a -4 to get either one in and taking out Saka.
To play against your team?
Yeah, why wouldn't I?
Who are you intending to captain in that game week?
I haven't thought about it, to be honest. Might be a Tottenham player.
Arsenal play City. Liverpool go to Brighton.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Maddison will do better against Luton than Son.
Because of what? Space? Lack of?
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway, the correct answer was Lyle Foster against Chelsea, but we'll leave it right there. Dan, I wish you particular luck over these forthcoming couple of weeks, because it does become, after this double, the fixtures, the run you have got is, I mean, looking at your home games up to Christmas, Tottenham, Liverpool, Palace, Arsenal, Manchester City, Newcastle. You've also got a trip to Villa in there as well. Them home games, enjoy them, mate. Enjoy them home games. Whereas for you, Jack, this run really starts after St James's Park, really, where you're really targeting the points. And again, sustained run up to Christmas. The flip, you've got Arsenal away in 12, Brighton away in 16. But otherwise, you'd be looking at every game thinking it's winnable. Your home games, Chelsea, Palace, West Ham, Sheffield United, Everton. And that's why, ironically, I'd probably rather go into this week with a Luton defender because of the 2 games. But longer term, I think I'd rather have a Burnley one, Jack.
Yeah, and I think that's it. I think with the way our games have been this season, I'd rather have had the tougher ones first. I think with us trying to blend, the 15 new signings into the squad, some of the games haven't been too pretty, but I think we've got away relatively unscathed. It's not been complete carnage. That's why for me, I think if you've got, I've got Bayer, I'm kind of happier really longer term than sitting here this week with a Luton player. Like you said, it looks tasty, and I think we've got it in us really to pick up a good number of wins and score some real goals in those games.
Yeah, one to watch. I look forward to speaking to you both again on Clash of Correspondents when this swings come about. I think, Jack, you said you're coming on for Bournemouth away in 10, aren't you? And Dan, you're coming on before the Liverpool game as well, aren't you? Game week 12. Brilliant stuff. Dan, anything you want to promote before you go? I know that there is.
Yeah, it's just myself on Twitter at Dan Ashby. And then, well, the season's already started in the Championship, but I am one of the co-hosts of the official podcast for Gaffer at EFL Fantasy.
Good stuff, mate. Jack, anything you want to plug?
No, just at Surfy Taffer on Twitter. Nothing else going on really.
Good man. And Burnley journalists on getting some information would be great. Good luck to both you gents in the double and going forward in the coming weeks. Lauren Harris, our new women's football correspondent, is joining me tomorrow for a preview of the Women's Super League that starts this weekend, which includes Tottenham going to Chelsea on Super Sunday at 4:30 p.m. kickoff. Next week's Clash of Correspondents, scheduled to be next Thursday, but that could change, is Wolves versus Aston Villa and the beginning of the Villains run. And I'm sure Bradley Parker's going to tell us that Pedro Neto is or isn't the best sub 6 million midfielder in FPL currently, which just leaves me to say thanks again so much to Dan and Jack. Good luck this weekend, gents, and against each other next Tuesday. Cue music, please, man child.